All right, guys, I've been wanting to do this one for a while, but I had to hold off because our FOIA request took some time to come back, but our attorney came through, got the job done. So stick with me here because you won't hear this anywhere else, and hopefully I can leave my house after filming this, all right? So, by the way, this is absolutely no offense to any police officer anywhere here in Massachusetts, outside of Massachusetts. Most of them, I'm sure, are not writing what I'm about to go over, which is the curriculum. So this isn't about cops per se. It's about the people designing the training that I'm going to talk about today. And really what this reveals is some kind of like sick top-down state-sanctioned narrative that is being fed to every officer in Massachusetts. And these men and women, they're required to take this. It's mandatory, right? It gets logged into the state systems. And really the danger here isn't just what they're being taught. It's how it could, I would say, subtly reshape how they're supposed to see you, the public. So here's how it goes. Currently, police officers in Massachusetts are now being trained to, I guess, treat parents speaking out at school board meetings as potential members of a hate group. Not because they've committed a crime, not because they are violent, but because they dared to voice concern over their child's education. Okay? That is exactly what is happening in the 2025 mandatory training course that was rolled out by the state's Municipal Police Training Committee. Now, this course is called Freedom and Hate, Speech, Crimes, and Groups. And again, it is required for all of our officers statewide to take. This is a mandatory training. Now, the problem here, and the problem, in my opinion, with this training, is buried within the lessons is a list of organizations that our state is now considering modern day hate groups. Now, it does include, I will give it credit, it does include some of the usual suspects. You figure white nationalist militias, anti-Semitic propagandists or whatever, you get the point. But right alongside of them is Moms for Liberty, which is a group of mostly suburban mothers advocating for parental rights in public schools. This is a group, to my knowledge, that's never been linked to any act of violence, but it is now lumped in the same group of actual extremists simply because they speak out, often probably loudly, about curriculum and gender ideology in public education. That is something that I am concerned with as well. It also includes Alliance Defending Freedom, which is a major legal nonprofit that's won cases at the Supreme Court defending religious liberty. It also includes ACT for American. It also included Mass Resistance and the American Family Association. All of these groups have political views. They don't have criminal records. Like, what is going on here? Officers are being told point blank that these organizations belong in the same category as the KKK. That is realistically what this is, okay? It's absolutely insane. And it gets worse. Here's how it goes. This classification isn't based on internal law enforcement intelligence. It's entirely sourced from the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is a highly, highly controversial nonprofit whose so-called hate map, that's what it's called, by the way, it's called a hate map, has been criticized across the political spectrum, both left and right, for smearing political opponents. Listen, even the FBI in counterterrorism training has warned agents not to use the SPLC as a reliable source due to its lack of being objective. That would be like me reading the Babylon Bee as a resource, okay? That's basically what this is. Yet here in Massachusetts, they decided to use it as like the Bible or backbone for its hate crimes training anyway. How did we get here? How does this continue to happen. I say it in almost every single video. Anyway, according to multiple officers, okay, familiar with the course, one of the indicators that someone might be affiliated with this supposed like hate group is that they attend a school board meeting and voice opposition to educational content. That's it. Speaking at a public meeting, using your First Amendment rights. That's now somehow it's suspicious behavior. This is not about enforcing laws, guys. It's about enforcing ideology. If you're an officer out there, you know what I'm talking about here. I think that the line between law and politics is supposed to be a wall, but Massachusetts seems to be turning it into some kind of pipeline, like from an activist think tank to a police department. That's how this went, with absolutely, at least I think, no oversight and no debate. And for what, guys? To teach a generation of young and new recruits that parents, pastors, lawyers who question progressive orthodoxy should be treated with suspicion? It's sick. It really is sick. Look at it this way. This is why it's important. Okay? This is how people can weaponize government. And this is it working it out in real time. Not with some like dramatic crackdown, these quiet curriculum changes and mandatory trainings like this. That's realistically how this goes, right? They infiltrate very quickly, but very quietly as well, because this obviously happened in 2025. Big surprise there, right? And really, what's worst of all is a potential, I would say, slow shift in a mindset, especially for young recruits, where like these cops are trained to see community engagement not as democracy in action, but as a potential threat to be neutralized. And let's not pretend like this is only happening in Massachusetts. If it is, it's even worse, okay? I'll call it what it is. But this is, or could be, like a template. This is how it gets started. I'm wondering if this is happening in other states as well. If you're an officer in other states, please let me know. But it's like, first you redefine dissent as hate, then you retain the enforcers, and suddenly the tools designed to protect the public become tools to control it. That's why this matters. I'm sure there's seasoned officers that won't let this get a hold of them, right? But I think some newer officers might read this and question it, but just go along with the flow. And once officers are trained to see citizens as enemies, everything else can become justified, like surveillance or investigations and arrests. Like, these are not hate groups, guys. This is ridiculous to me. And if you think this can't scale, remember that we've already seen federal memos suggesting concerned parents at school board meetings that could be flagged as domestic terrorists, okay? This is happening, and this is very, very, this is like dangerous territory, right? And you know what? If the government stands by this training, here's a call out. If you guys stand by this training, release it to the public. Release it. Release it after you see this video. Let the public see what their tax dollars are funding, and let's see how it goes. Let parents decide if advocating for their kids makes them extremists. Because right now, a lot of good people are being put on watch lists without even knowing it. And if we don't fight back against this ideological overreach now, the definition of a hate group is going to keep shrinking and shrinking and shrinking until it fits everybody, right? That's basically what this is. This is absolutely ludicrous to me that this is being trained to police officers. Anyway, if you're an officer in Massachusetts, again, no offense to you guys, this is strictly about the curriculum. But I am wondering if there are any officers watching from other states, or that you could share this video with, that I wonder if they know that this is happening. I think that officers that have been doing this a long time and have seen trainings like this, I think that they may have been shocked by some of the content on here, but I don't think they would be easily swayed by the nonsense. Like, I think they could call this out very easily. But it's problematic when you have new recruits that are just happy to get a damn job. Like, they're going to read these things and they're going to, follow these things to a T. And it is absolutely insane to me. Anyway, that's it for today's video, guys. If I could release these documents to you, I will. I have to check, I have to check on a few things here, but trust me, they're real, okay? They are real. Anyway, see you on the next one. Have a good weekend. Hope I make it to Monday. Bye-bye.